Then a presence arrived that made everything in me go still. I knew him, before I knew that I knew him. The recognition hit like a bell. Guardian angel is the earth word for it, but here the category collapsed into certainty. Welcome to Let's Lift the Veil. Before the story begins, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more in-depth near-death experience stories. And if you've lived anything similar, share it in the comments to support others. Tonight's account follows a 20-year-old man in late 1970s Texas. A scorching day at the Comal River turns catastrophic. A slip on algae, a sudden undertow, and a near-fatal drowning. What unfolds is a lucid passage through a living tunnel of light, telepathic contact with ancestors, a guardian presence at a radiant boundary, and a forceful return to life. This episode explores drowning and intense emotions. Viewer discretion is advised. Settle in. Here is the experience as it happened. I must have been about 20 years old that summer, and Texas felt like a furnace, air shimmering above the Comal River, with rocks so hot that people hopped in quick little dances to keep their souls from cooking. The river was chaos, in the way only heat can choreograph it. Teenagers vaulting the fence, ignoring the danger signs, flinging themselves off the bridge like it was a dare they couldn't afford to lose. My mother hadn't wanted to come, she was worried. But heat has a way of wearing down objections, and my brother finally convinced us. Sound for me has never been the point. I'm profoundly deaf, so the river, the shouts, the laughter, those were all movement and vibration, a language of bodies. The sun was white and merciless, the water was a relief. In that wide liquid crowd, it was easy to lose sight of one another, and I got separated near a narrow dam, a smaller drop than the main chute, a curtain where the river slipped off a lip, 4 to 6 feet high, and hammered the pool below. It looked, to my 20-year-old certainty, manageable. I stepped onto the top, algae slick under my bare feet, and the world decided my balance wasn't part of the plan. I went down fast. No time to brace, no time to turn, just a blunt slide into the fall. The water seized me, flipped me, pinned me under the liquid fist of the undertow. Up and down unhooked from meaning, right and left dissolved. The river compacted into force and velocity, a thundering silence that felt like the inside of a storm. I tried to swim out, but direction had gone missing, like a word I knew yesterday. I kept my mouth closed until I couldn't. Water punched in, and panic came like a sharp knife. My thoughts flickered toward my mother. I saw the worry in her eyes, and then toward the fact that nobody seemed to notice. No lifeguards, and 2 briders bounced past overhead, oblivious. My chest burned, the cold drilled through my skin. A black curtain slid down, steady and final, and with it, a last astonished thought. So this is it. This is the door. The door closed. Then something else opened. It started in my feet, a fine, bright ticking that climbed like a fuse lighting, a crackle of electricity running up my legs, my torso, into my skull, detonating in a shock of awareness, so clean, it felt like someone had pulled the entire room of reality into focus. Consciousness didn't fade. It multiplied. I was not losing anything. I was gaining everything. My life review arrived like film reels, thrown all at once into the projector and somehow perfectly synchronized, year by year, face by face. I watched myself being born and saw the first moment my mother's eyes met mine, love like a sunrise hitting the surface of a lake. I saw my father lift me into the air when I was small, the arc of his arms, the grin that had always felt a little mysterious. I saw my brother and sisters and the closeness between us, as if it had density like honey and light. The scenes accelerated, faster and faster, until every thread became a tapestry, and the tapestry a single spark, exploding into a field of stars. A light, not a beam but a living spectrum, gathered me like gravity. The tunnel wasn't a hollow. It was a current of intelligence braided with color, as if all wavelengths had become aware and welcomed me home. As I moved, as I was moved through it, I could see outward through the tunnel's transparency, glimpses of space, a sense of immensity and order, a cosmic architecture that my mind recognized without any need for words. Time changed its rules, past, present, future, stacked rather than stretched. I wasn't remembering or predicting, I was comprehending. Everything occurred at once, layered like sheets of glass, and yet nothing felt crowded. I existed inside perfect simultaneity. Then I slowed near a boundary. There were no fence, no wall. It was more like a radiant threshold whose very presence communicated law. Understanding landed in me completely. If I crossed, I could not return. That knowledge didn't frighten me. It untied every knot I'd ever lived under. The heaviness of rules and institutions, all the imposed shoulds of the world, fell away like an old coat, and I stood weightless, stunned by freedom. I noticed presences, people arrayed just beyond the threshold. I knew them before I saw them. Ancestry isn't only blood, it's recognition, and I recognized them instantly. They spoke in the way light speaks, directly into comprehension. Telepathy, if you like, but that word sounds too mechanical for what it was. Being profoundly deaf, I had always occupied a world where conventional speech was only one of many channels. Here, every channel was clarity. Their attention felt like warm weather on skin, and their surprise too. I read it plainly.
What is he doing here?
Not unkind, simply startled.
Isn't his time later?
And still, arms open, delight unhidden, love as obvious as breath. Through some shared vision among them, I caught sight of a city, not built so much as grown from perfection, with geometry softened by light, flawless and alive. There were no sidewalks, no signs, no seams. The place felt like a completed thought. Then a presence arrived that made everything in me go still. I knew him before I knew that I knew him. The recognition hit like a bell. Guardian angel is the earth word for it. But here, the category collapsed into certainty. He had been there at my birth, joy blazing in him, a note in a ledger checked off, a task completed. He stood close, and his gaze went through me, not piercing, not harsh, simply total.
What happened?
The question unfolded telepathically. I tried to answer, but it was already answered. He had scanned me, and the story had revealed itself.
Drowned, undertow, unfinished. Your time is not yet. You still have work to do.
I wanted to slip past him into that city. It wasn't an impulse, so much as a returning to an earlier intention. I angled a step, if motion is even the right word, and he moved like lightning, not aggressive, just sovereign. His hand lifted, and I felt a pull, a reversal, as if the current in the tunnel had turned around. Speed gathered, the spectrum narrowed, the threshold receded to a single star. I was still under the water, yet in the contracted hush of my re-entry, a clear command sounded in me.
Stand straight.
The words weren't spoken aloud. They didn't need to be. I obeyed. I planted my feet. An immense hand, with no shape, only force, wrapped me and slid me out of the churn, carried me as if I weighed nothing, and placed me against the embankment. Upon contact with the air, I convulsed and poured a river out of my mouth, a deluge that seemed impossible for any human body to hold. Each heave struck like a hammer, and with each I felt hope ignite, a sharp, clean, and overwhelming feeling. When the last of the water left me, I lay flat and watched leaves tremble in sunlight and felt each blade of grass under my fingers, as if it were a living wire that knew my name. No one around me had noticed. The carnivalesque flow of tubes and laughter continued upstream and downstream, and the world looked exactly as it had looked 10 minutes earlier. I did not. But I said nothing to my mother, to my brother, to my sisters. Silence felt right, not from fear or shame, but from a certainty that the story needed time to ripen inside me. The memory is not a memory in the ordinary sense. It is a place I can still stand in and see out from. It has weight and dimension. It remains more real than the hot concrete under my feet that day. My life, behind the veil. I didn't share what happened for years. My recovery was quick in medical terms. I didn't need an ambulance, and there was no need to go to the hospital either, but along in the way, perspectives change. When I finally did tell my family in adulthood, I watched shock ripple across my mother's face. I felt my sister's arms wrap around me, as if to tuck me back into the timeline we almost lost. Friends heard the story with a confusion that softened into awe. My faith shifted, not away from God, but away from the institutions that try to manage God. What I experienced felt like a relationship with the living structure of reality itself, law as light, and love as the medium of comprehension. Churches can carry good news, yes, but I wish they met people more in their hunger than in their rules. I understand differently now why a teacher like Jesus wandered out of systems and into kitchens and roadsides. I woke from the river with gifts I didn't know how to name. My perception sharpened. Sometimes I could feel machinery humans didn't evolve to notice, like the way a police radar gun scribes the air with invisible lines, a prickle along my skin that warned me long before I crested a hill. My dreams turned architectural, with symbolic vistas that I walked through as if they were neighborhoods. Once, barefoot in a dream, I stood upon my own toenail, zooming until ridges became landscapes, cocoons tucked under the crescent edge releasing butterflies, first in swarms, then in a slow procession, one at a time, as if freedom had to learn patience. I also saw episodes of the future, some gentle, some terrible, crowds crying out under the weight of disasters, events that later unfolded with unnerving accuracy, I didn't ask for these visions. I don't perform them. They arrive like the weather, and I try to meet them with humility. When I risked telling a friend what I'd seen for them, they sometimes laughed, until the day they didn't. Then they would run to me to compare notes, eyes wide, fear cooling into recognition. Relationships changed, because I changed. I'm more patient now, more alert to the person behind the performance, and less anxious about approval. Having stood at a boundary that cannot be crossed without consequence, the smaller gates people try to keep no longer hold much power. The world feels threaded, every blade of grass, every stranger's grief, each small courage, woven into a living field that can be touched from anywhere. As for purpose, I still don't pretend to know the job description written for my life. I was told only that my time wasn't finished. That is enough. It keeps me moving. It keeps me listening. It keeps me choosing again and again to lean toward the light that once carried me and will someday carry me again. Thank you for listening to this near-death experience. If this testimony resonated with you, like the video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs hope. If you ever had an NDE or a transformative experience, post a comment or submit your story on the website with the link in the description. This community listens. For more first-hand accounts, watch the next episode on the following screen. New narratives drop regularly. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss one. Let's keep lifting the veil, one episode at a time. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. See you soon for another journey beyond the veil.